Hey guys, I'm back, and what I want to show you now is how to actually get started with a project, how to start creating. So this is just going to be the basics. You can take this and run with it. I know some of you um, are really interested in this, and I hope that you do play around with it and that you see, the potential with this program. So we're going to go up. We're back at the home screen for Scratch, and we're going to go up to Create. And remember, it's going to bring up our screen with the different elements that we talked about before. Sometimes it takes a minute to load. Okay, so if you'll remember from before, from the first video, we talked about the different parts of the screen. And these are your blocks for programming. This is your script area, and then this is your stage. And we talked a little bit about a sprite. I just mentioned that you could edit your sprites or any characters or elements that you put into your program. So when you open up Scratch, you see a cat, and that is kind of like the logo for Scratch. The cat comes up automatically. You do not have to keep the cat. You do not have to use it in any way. If you don't want to, you can change your sprites. But that's what comes up as a default. So we're going to just close this little tutorial that comes up. And going back, we looked at the different tabs, your code, which has your blocks, where you edit your costumes, and where you edit your sounds. So looking back at the codes, we're going to look at the different categories of codes. So this is what actually your blocks are divided up, and they're color coded depending on what kind of block it is. So the first ones we're going to look at are your motion blocks. And this, of course, motion, it makes your sprites move. So you see some of the ones that come up first. You have your move, you turn so many degrees. You can go to a random position. You indicate using coordinates. You can glide. You can point in a certain direction or point towards something like your mouse pointer. This is where you can change your locations and do different things like if on edge, bounce. Like if you've got a game and your ball gets to the edge, you want it to bounce off, then that's the block you would use. Okay, and then your purple category are your looks. This is where you tell it what to do as far as what pops up on the screen. If you want it to say something, or sorry, my space is getting low. If you want to say or think, change costumes, change size. So sorry about this. So those are your looks. And then, of course, your sounds. You can tell it when to play a sound, when to stop your sounds, etc. You have events, and this is telling when to do certain things, like when you click the green flag, do this. When you press the space bar, do this. When you click your up and down arrows, do certain actions. And then you have control blocks. And this is you're telling what actions to do and how to control those actions, like wait 1 second and then do something. Repeat this action. If something happens, then do this. So those are your control blocks. And then you have your sensing blocks. And this is if a certain element is touching a certain color or, doing certain things, then that's what you would use. And I'm going to have to go ahead and end this segment just because my space is low. So I'll have to pick it up in just a second in the second segment. So just hang with me. Okay, guys. So we were trying to figure out why our sprite was moving backwards. So let me kind of explain how you have to view the staging area. you have to view it as a coordinate grid, because remember, with one of our motion blocks, you can move it to a certain location. Well, in order to do that, you have to provide coordinates. So I'm going to attempt to kind of show you. Now, my freehanding is awful, so just bear with me. I can't even draw straight lines free-handed. But we're going to pretend this is our coordinate grid, okay? All right. So if we want to have the sprite move this way to the left of where he's standing, then you need to send him in a what? Negative direction. Because if you look at the coordinate grid, this way is negative, right? This is the negative coordinate. Okay, so if you wanted him to go to the right, then you would use a positive number. All right, so let's see if I can get rid of my drawing. So we want him to go towards the goal, so we're going to have to use a negative number. Okay, so let's tell him to go 20 steps when the green flag is clicked. Okay, now, again, we're on the D sprite, so click your green flag. And again, we just put in 20 and move to the right, so we need to put in negative 20. I just wanted to illustrate the difference there to you. So if we put in negative 20, it goes back towards the goal. Okay, so every time you click the green flag, then he makes that move. So that's how you get one way to get the sprite to move. Okay, if you want to add other sprites, you can. If you want 2 players, 3 players, whatever you want to do, and then simply add motion to your basketball sprite if you want it to bounce up and down, to simulate him dribbling, then you can add that as well. But that's just kind of the basics. I do want to point out the difference between move, go to, and glide. So move, you saw that he moved the number of steps you told him to move. So I moved a certain distance. If you use the go to, now obviously I wouldn't use all those together. I just wanted to kind of show you those 3 commands. If you use the go to, you're putting in coordinates. So you're saying go to this certain spot. Okay. So if you use go to, the sprite starts in one spot and then he just appears at whatever coordinates you tell it to go to. And then the glide command, if you think about what glide means, it's going to be eventually getting there. And so you tell it to glide so many seconds to the position you want it to go to. And so it does act or look more like it's moving. So let's take out the move, since we've already demonstrated that, and use the go to and see what it. When the green flag is clicked, go to, let's try different coordinates. Let's go to 25, and your y coordinate, let's say 40. And let's save that. See, he just goes to there. He appears. And then the glide, I'm going to do this very quickly because my time's almost out. So we want to glide for 5 seconds to this position. And you see he glides. He goes slowly, however many seconds you want it to take to get there. So hopefully this will get you started with some of your Scratch projects.